Okay, well, I want to just start us off, and I want to start by just welcoming everyone, all students and parents of future high school students. And I want to just, again, welcome you and start with some introductions for tonight. We have several people here from the high school who are going to provide some information, whether in the chat or whether presenting some slides and in that form. So I want to introduce first Dawn Young, principal at Vestal High School. Rick Ducko, assistant principal. Andrea Miller is our dean of students. We have almost the entire counseling and guidance department here. Christy Smith is the department chair of the counseling and guidance office. We have Nina Muto, Rob Malvasio, Becky Martino, Meryl Wallach, and Katie Jablanowski. I believe, yeah, no, that is the entire counseling and guidance office. So these are some people who will be helping you along your journey at the high school and helping you with any kind of questions and problems along the way. So these are all people who are resources for you. My name is Andy Blaine. I'm the other assistant principal at the high school. This is our first orientation for 8th graders coming into 9th grade, coming into the high school. It's our first introduction to the high school for you, and it is it's a way for us to just give you some information that you need right now. There will be some other opportunities down the road for you to come into the high school and to see different areas of the high school and to experience it that way too. Typically, this would be in person, but as with most things nowadays, this is over Zoom as well. We have a lot of information to share with you. We kind of focus this on information that is most useful for you right now in the middle of your 8th grade year, as you think and plan with your students, plan with your families, looking forward to 9th grade. There will also be opportunities for questions at the end. And if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat as we go along, and we may have opportunities to answer questions through the chat as well. Right now, I want to hand it over to Mrs. Young. She's going to talk about some of a broad overview of the high school and a snapshot of that. Mrs. Young.
Thank you, Dr. Blaine. We really do wish that we could be together. This is an exciting night for us, and we love our first introduction to our 8th graders that are going to be our incoming 9th graders in the fall. And we hope that we can, as we open up our communities and we move forward, that we can have some more opportunities to have our students be familiar with the building itself. So again, this is just the information that we feel students and families need right now to start planning for that transition to come to 9th grade. So welcome to all our students and families of the class of 2025. Many things have changed since we last presented on setting the stage for success. And that's what we call this presentation, because we are just starting to set that stage. That was last January in 2020. The way that schools work has changed since then. The instructional choices of hybrid or remote didn't even exist last January. However, we have met those challenges with a renewed commitment to an excellent education and flexibility in how we reach that goal. My theme this year at Vestal High School has been course correction. This is a navigational term that refers to how a ship or a plane adjusts its path in order to arrive at a specific destination. As a community, we are developing resilience while maintaining our focus on the end destination, which is graduation for each of our students. Tonight, we are setting the stage for success for our class of 2025. This gives me an opportunity to pause and reflect on what I envision for each and every one student as they progress through the next 4 years. So I want to talk to you a little bit about our district mission as well as our IB mission statement. While some of you may take IB courses, the IB mission statement and some of the things that it embodies really does impact the decisions of the language that we've put in our district mission statement. Our district mission statement talks about our purpose as providing instruction, programs, strategies, and challenges in a caring and positive learning environment. Each student will become a critical thinker, a lifelong learner, and a responsible contributing citizen in a global changing society. We know a lot about change right now, and we're hoping that our students, in experiencing a full education here at Vestal High School and through the district, starting with the elementary schools and the middle school, will be able to respond to these changes in a healthy and contributing way. You'll notice the combination and the overlap there with the IB mission statement. It challenges us as educators to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect, to encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who understand that others, with their differences, can also be right. This is our district's vision of what a good education is. The question is, how do we put our vision into action? Tonight, you will hear about expectations, opportunities, and supports for you to grow as an individual in your academics, in your social interactions, and in your abilities to navigate the world beyond graduation, whether that be work or college. I'd like to share with you the IB Learner Profile and the traits that are included in that. We strive for all of our students to develop each of these traits along the next 4 years, to become inquirers, to be more knowledgeable when they leave us than when they came, to be thinkers and communicate what they're thinking about, to be principled and hold themselves to a high standard of what it means to have those principles in action, to be open-minded to people who are different from themselves or believe different things, to be caring, to care for one another. More than ever, that is the basis of what we try to do as educators. To be risk takers, try something new, to balance your academics with your extracurriculars, with your family demands, and also to be reflective and think back on how your experiences are shaping you as a young person. Reflect on mistakes that maybe you make so you can figure out a way to course correct for yourself. Vestal High School is an IB school, which goes beyond the offering of IB courses. As seen in the Vestal mission statement, the IB aligns with what we hope and value for all of our students. Teachers, administrators, coaches, counselors, they will support you as you develop these traits along the way. Regardless of your goals after graduation, these are the attitudes and skills that will ensure your confidence and success to become a successful adult who contributes to the world around you. So, who are we, Vestal High School, at this moment in time, and what does Vestal High School have to offer you in your journey? Here's a quick snapshot. We currently have 1,070 students in grades 9 through 12. There are 11 academic departments. And by departments, we mean groups of teachers that teach the same discipline like English, social studies, art, science, business. We also have a strong building support team. We have an administrative staff who are all on this call tonight. We have teachers, we have paraprofessionals that support us, as well as clerical people, attendance clerk, our health office nurses. In our counseling and guidance office, we have 6 counselors and 1 school psychologist. We have custodians, food service workers, coaches, and athletic trainers. All of these can be trusted adults for each student to find a connection with someone to help you gather your confidence as you grow in and leave us at graduation. In terms of course offerings, we have specialty tracks like the International Baccalaureate, Advanced Placement, Fast Forward, Project Lead the Way, which is a pre-engineering. We also have career and technical education. These are incredibly valuable programs that we offer through our connection with BOCES for students that want to become auto mechanics, heavy equipment repair and operators, video game designers. We also have New Visions Academies, and these are for students that would like to experience an internship type education as a senior. Those are also offered through BOCES. We have internship opportunities. We have 12 different musical performance groups. We have 35 sports and teams, including JV and varsity. And we hope that we can get back to that competitive spirit as we open up more. Currently, we also have over 38 clubs and student leadership opportunities. We hope that as we move forward with all of these clubs, programs, and supports, that Vestal High School demonstrates our commitment to Education Towards the 22nd Century, where we provide students with the social and academic skills to contribute to a just, sustainable, and beautiful world for all. As the landscape of health and safety and teaching and learning shifts, we continue to course correct to ensure you have various opportunities and supports to select the most challenging courses in which you can be successful and to achieve your long-range goals. As I hand this over to our next presenters, I'd like to challenge you to envision yourself joining in as many ways as you can. Try new things, make new friends, set a goal to be better than you are today, and have fun. Most importantly, have fun on this exciting journey ahead of you. Regardless of the format of instruction in the fall, we as a high school team are looking forward to welcoming you and walking beside you over the next 4 years. I'd like to now introduce one of our school counselors, Mrs. Christy Smith, who will highlight the important aspects of planning your pathway to graduation. Thank you, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm excited to see so many families on this call tonight. I would like to introduce you to our course description guidebook. For those of you who are joining us for the first time and have not been through this process, we have put the link in the beginning of the chat for the course description guidebook. But Mr. Earlis and Mrs. Williams, the middle school counselors, have put those in the Google Classroom for the 8th graders, and it is also posted on the high school website underneath counseling and guidance. So feel free to browse around and follow along if you'd like. If not, we'll have some information here on the screen. So in the course description guidebook, you're going to see a lot of information that's going to help your student, not only for picking classes for 9th grade, but all the way through their senior year. And one of the most important parts of that information is what is considered our high school graduation requirements. So this is put forth by New York State, and there's different components that make up graduation requirements. There's the course of study, there are credits, and there are exams. That path to graduation is going to look different for every single student. No two students take the same path, and that's okay. So we know that last June and this January, New York State has canceled and waived the Regents exams. We do not know that that is the case for this coming June as well. So we are moving forward as though we will be having exams. And if something different happens, we will take that into account when we figure out each student's graduation pathway. We can go to the next slide. So as Mrs. Young previously stated, there are several different academic paths towards graduation. And you as a family and as a student have to look at what is best for you. So we not only have academic level courses, we have accelerated and honors level courses. We have the Project Lead the Way, which is through Rochester Institute of Technology. We have Fast Forward credits, which is some of our courses here at the high school also get credit through SUNY Broome. We have Advanced Placement and International Baccalaureate level courses. Every student is entitled to take any of these courses along the way. You don't necessarily need to have been accelerated in the middle school in order to participate in any of these programs. So again, as your students are making their schedules with their 8th grade counselors this week and next week, they're specifically going to be looking at 9th grade, but we at counselors at the high school will help your student continue to look at other options moving forward. We can, yeah. So again, in the course description guidebook, we have some tips to help you make those good choices. So you want to choose the course and not the teacher. You may hear from friends and family, oh, I had this teacher and that was a good experience, or that was not a bad experience. Here at the high school, we're looking at the particular course. Due to our staffing issues and concerns, sometimes people get shifted around at the last minute and you may not get the teacher that you had hoped for. So you should be choosing the course based on the material and not the teacher. You want to consider the course level difficulty, as I had mentioned in the previous screen. You want to challenge yourself, but not overwhelm yourself. This isn't a race to the end. Everyone will get to graduation at their appropriate time. So please make sure that you're having a healthy balance of not only courses, but extracurricular activities as well. Again, we want to make sure that this is a positive experience for you and you have the chance to enjoy your high school career. We have a lot of elective courses throughout your 4 years. Freshmen do not have as many opportunities as upperclassmen, and you can see that elective courses are processed based on your grade level. So seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. Oftentimes, seniors and juniors need elective courses in terms of graduation requirements, so sometimes freshmen and sophomores get bumped from those options. Schedule changes will not be honored unless there's an error or omission on the part of the school. As you can imagine, if we're trying to schedule 1,000 students and each student has 7 or 8 courses, it does get to be a little overwhelming at times. So unless it's the wrong course, wrong level, schedule changes are not permitted. Back to elective courses, those are not guarantees. Sometimes electives don't run due to staffing or personnel issues. Sometimes we just don't have the space for them at that particular year. And sometimes courses are offered every other year. So we may have them on your course selection sheet, but depending on what the issue is, they may not run. And then courses with minimal student requests or limited enrollment, those will not be scheduled. And the counselors at the high school will be in touch with families if a course is not running and they need to pick another option for that. This year, we've included a 4-year planning tool for families. Again, Mr. Earlis and Mrs. Williams put these in the Google Classroom for students. So again, while they're focusing on primarily 9th grade, this will help families consider what options are available for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Some of the courses that your students are going to be interested in have what's called prerequisites. Those are courses that are required to be taken before they go into a course of interest. All of that information is listed course by course in the description guidebook. So this planning tool will help you lay out what 4 years will look like. Again, as I previously said, courses may change or they may not be offered each year. So remember, this is a planning tool and not necessarily the exact path that your student will take. We also have included a spot for activities, sports, and clubs because, again, we're trying to have a healthy balance between a strong academic caseload and also activities outside of school or in school activities. So colleges and employers, they're looking for well-rounded students. They want to see that kids are committed to things, both within their academics and in their extracurriculars. So keep in mind some things that you might be interested in. And later in one of the other slides, we have some more information about activities at the high school. So every effort is made to schedule your child into the requested classes. Please be aware that some conflicts are inherent. For example, we may only have one section of a particular course, so not everything is offered multiple times a day. So again, counselors will be in contact with students if there is an error, or excuse me, an issue that comes up. But typically, we try to make sure that all requests are fulfilled. Students may not adjust their schedules at the high school to obtain specific class times or teachers. Again, we're just not able to accommodate all of those requests due to so many students being scheduled. This year, as well as for next year for our incoming 9th graders, all students must have a lunch in their schedule. It will actually show up on their schedule for 2 semesters, first semester and second semester. Lunch change requests will not be honored. And due to class sizes and offerings, we are not able to accommodate those requests for a specific period. So if we go to, I think it's the next slide. Yes, the next slide will show a typical bell schedule for the high school. We start our first period at 8 o'clock in the morning. We have 4 minutes passing time in between each class, which is a little bit of a change from the middle school. We have 9 periods in our day, so our last period ends at 2:40. And students may be scheduled for lunch during periods 5, 6, or 7. We don't have a specific lunch period just for ninth graders, so all ninth graders will be scheduled for lunch between those 3 lunch periods. We make every effort again to make sure that students have their required courses, and due to scheduling balancing, especially if we are in a hybrid model and we have to maintain social distancing, will dictate where students have their lunch. I now would like to pass it back over to Dr. Andy Blaine for hybrid learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you for all that great information. I just want to touch quickly on, the reality that we're all in right now. I know all of you students and families in the middle school, you are in the middle of hybrid learning yourself. It looks a little bit different, as all things do at the high school. One thing that we really rely on as a high school team is the strength of our students. And there is a lot of freedom that students have in the high school, but along with that comes a lot of responsibility. So there is a lot more movement between classes than in the middle school. Of course, we maintain social distancing in the hallways and all places in the high school and on campus in general. Typically, we have an open campus for lunch. That's on pause right now because of concerns about health and safety. In any of our spaces, including places where students eat, like the cafeteria, the commons, in room 181, there are 6 feet between all desks, and masks are worn at all times, except when students need to have their masks off, such as when they're eating. Like I said just a moment ago, I think my light just went off in my office. There's more freedom in the high school. Ms. Smith showed the bell schedule, and our day is from 8 to 2:40. There are no more academic teams. There is use of technology. Obviously, there's much more to use of technology right now, but respectful and responsible use of cell phones is allowed, sometimes in classes, but certainly permitted in the library and places like study halls. There are a lot of clubs and activities in the high school, and we'll be touching on that. Mr. Ducko will talk about that a little bit more in a later slide. But one thing that you'll hear everyone who is speaking on this call share is that we want you to be as involved as you can be. So that looks different for every student. Mrs. Young and Ms. Smith talked about that too. Every student is unique. Your job as a student is to find your niche, your kind of way of moving through the school and through high school. It really is a broad experience. It's not all about taking classes and all about academics. It's about the experience of high school. And there are a lot of opportunities for whatever you'd like to do throughout your high school experience. And it will change as you go. It's 4 years that you have to experience high school. And there are a lot of activities that you can be involved in. Even in this hybrid learning, there are things, I'm in the high school right now, and there are things, there are practices going on, there are activities, workouts going on right now. So even in our restricted environment, there are things going on day and night. And that is even more true during a kind of regular environment that we hope to get back to as soon as possible. With that experience at the high school, as you move through, you have a lot of people who are here to support you. The counseling and guidance team is here on the call because they want to show you that they are here to support you. I also want to acknowledge that Alyssa Williams and Howard Erlas are also on this call, and just to acknowledge and welcome them as they will be working with you to support you in the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade. It's a big transition year, and there's a lot of support to help you with that transition and to help you throughout your time at the high school. So some of a small kind of snapshot of some of that support comes in the form of teacher-student support periods. So every teacher has a student support period that you can access, whether we're in the hybrid environment or in a traditional school environment. We have National Honor Society students who are available to tutor. By the way, National Honor Society is something that you can aspire to as a student as well. So that's something to keep in your sights. We have, as an intervention in our hybrid learning environment right now, we have Wednesdays that we have open to bring students in or to try different interventions if students are struggling with their classes. And I know a lot of students are struggling with this kind of hybrid learning environment. We have workshops that can support other courses that students are taking. I already talked about the counseling and guidance staff. We have aides and monitors that are here because they love working with students. Just today we had 2 monitors in one of our lunchrooms in the cafeteria doing trivia. So they try to kind of enliven your experience here at the high school. Of course, the 4 administrators at the high school and our athletic director, Josh Gannon, are also here to support you in whatever way that you need. You can always stop by and speak with one of us if you have a question, if you have a problem. We're here to help you as well. For students who need it, we have special education services, and that goes along with any kind of course description choices as well. So I just want to share just some kind of helpful tips, just some things that we emphasize and sometimes emphasize more than once. So Mrs. Miller, our Dean of Students, works a lot with attendance. She's going to talk a little bit more in depth about attendance, but we want you to attend school, whether that's virtually or in person, attend school and classes regularly. We really, really push getting involved. That's how you build connections with other students and with adults in the school. We want you to get involved, become active participants in class organizations, in your classes themselves. The more you get involved and the more engaged you are in your own education, the more fulfilling it will be. I think it's just as simple as that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. All of the adults who are in the high school, who work in the high school, they're here because they love working with students and they want to help you. So you can ask anyone who you see and they will either find help for you or help you themselves. Connect with adults on our building team. So any kind of adult, and different students have different connections with different adults based on activities or based on sports or things like that. And that's okay, that's great. The more connections that you have, the better. We want you to create academic and personal goals for yourself. I talked about high school being an experience that transcends the individual courses that you take, but you want to have those academic goals. We want you to shoot for those goals, to set them and to work towards them, and we're there to support you with that. Set those personal goals too. You're going to be developing as a person during your time at the high school, so set those personal goals as well. We want you to explore career opportunities, career interests, and just interests in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to a career, although a lot of times it comes in the form of that. It doesn't have to. It's all about kind of finding who you are through your experience at the high school. And a piece of that is in volunteering and in giving back to your community. That's a way that you can really find a fulfilling way to leave your mark, both at the high school and in your community in general. So I want to just end with that and pass it over to Mr. Ducko, who is going to talk about some clubs and some other ways to get involved at the high school.
All right, good evening. Hopefully I've managed to unmute myself and keep the screen shared. Right here is an image that we wanted to share with you. It is a snapshot of our virtual club hub, which our student government advisor and our student government student officers really put together as a virtual digital resource for students as a way to kind of provide some continuity and a resource for all of our students, whether they're hybrid or fully remote, to kind of connect with some of the different clubs. You can see pictured on here some interesting, artifacts and memorabilia and little virtual Post-it notes. When students access this, clicking on the Post-it notes on the bulletin board will actually take them to a club page. It's sort of a space where they can learn what the purpose of the club is, what the meeting schedule and activities might be, and ways to connect with the advisor and officers. A lot of our clubs and activities have had to adapt. Not every activity has lent itself well to being in person, but we are offering kind of alternative activities and opportunities for students still to kind of come together around various interests. And a lot of those interests are also having to do with service and volunteerism, as Dr. Blaine was saying, and really provide lots of great opportunities for students to become involved. So we want to encourage our students and let our families know that, even though the landscape looks a little different, we are committed to providing opportunities for kids to become involved in ways that extend beyond their core classes. So there's always something going on at the high school. I think even this weekend there are some class-specific drives in preparation for the senior class. I think there's a can and bottle drive coming up in the high school parking lot. So, that is another example of how we try to provide activities and ways for students to become involved in good ways that are useful for the community. So here's a little showcase for you, students. Next year, we think this resource will be available, as well as many things in person as we can put together. And now I'd like to kind of hand it over to Mrs. Miller to talk about our next topic about the importance of attendance.
Hi, everybody. You've heard a very consistent theme tonight, and that theme is the more you get involved, the more successful you will be. There's no magic to attendance. If you show up, if you get engaged, you're going to be successful. The remote environment has been difficult for a lot of our students. And for some of our students, for a variety of reasons, they've gotten into what I'll call a little bit of a rut. On remote days, it's become easy maybe to sleep in a little bit late and not to go to a particular class. Unfortunately, when you get to high school, every single course you take is credit bearing. And if you don't show up, you don't earn the credit. And if you don't earn the credit, you will not automatically get passed on to the next level. So it becomes critical for you to be in attendance for all of your classes every day. So my challenge to you is, for the remainder of the school year, make it a point, make it a goal to show up to every single one of your classes every day. By the time next year rolls around, and we all hope that next year is going to look very, very different than this year has, and we see you here at the high school, it will be a habit that you will be in class every day, on time, and that you'll have a whole lot of fun in high school. I'd like to pass it back to Mrs. Young now to finish up.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. I think you've heard kind of a theme that's gone through all of this, and that is that we want the best of success for each and every one of our students that begins here. And we ask each student to partner with us and to do your part to get involved. And if you start to get involved in something and it's not the club that you like, try something else on. Keep trying things on until you find the place where it works best. We have planned for you in the future. This is just a first, setting the stage for success. In the first week of September, we will have freshman orientation. Hopefully we can go back to a model where we have all of our students together, and it's kind of organized chaos where kids are excited and they get their schedules and they can run through the building and find out where their classes are. If we are still, in a position where we are offering hybrid and remote learning, we were able to do some of that this year, but with smaller numbers and kind of controlled environment there. And if there's opportunities for us to start to get your students into the buildings, perhaps do a scavenger hunt, some other things that we can do as our community starts to open up prior to that first week of September, I will send out an invitation to each of the grade 8 parents through the school messenger system, similar to how I invited you to register for this webinar tonight. And hopefully we can get some additional activities so that students, when they come to the high school, it's not their first time setting through those doors. We hope that you can continue to work together with your student and with us to find the best pathway for your child. I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to make sure that whatever goals you have, we are part of that team as well. Whatever the successes are that are coming for your student, we might have additional resources to help them get there. So include your school counselor, both your 8th grade school counselor, as well as when you get here, your high school counselor, to try to help plan the best possible route so that we can, again, get back to that fun that we've had in the past. So mark your calendar, first week of September. We will be having a late start to the school year because Labor Day is late this coming fall again. Typically, it's usually a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday, and we haven't settled on a date yet because, again, we're waiting to see what the community and what our health and safety guidelines will be at that time. So more information will come to you as soon as we know more about what we will be able to provide for students. And with that, I believe we have an opportunity for any questions and answers. I see a question in the chat about the 21-22 course selection sheet for grade 8 to 9 parents to see. We don't have that in our presentation right now, but I know that each of the school counselors at the middle school will be going through and meeting with students. The majority of courses really are prescribed ahead of time. In terms of there's an English class, a math class, a science class, a social studies class. The elective usually is one of 3, whether it's studio and art, concert band, chorus, if you like singing, or what am I missing there, Christy?
Engineering.
Engineering is a choice as well. So looking at those opportunities, your counselor will work with you to kind of go through that. And then there's some level opportunities there.
I believe, just to interject, the course selection sheet is already in your student's Google Classroom for the Counseling and Guidance Google Classroom for 8th grade. And the counselors will be working with students, I believe, as early as the end of this week into next week.
I see a question in here also. We get this question a lot about students that are not accelerated in math in the middle school, and what is their pathway to reach the highest levels of math in the high school? We do have pathways for that. We have actually spent a lot of time between the counselors at the high school and the math department to determine the most appropriate pathway for students. Because we never want students to be closed out of reaching the highest level of math that we offer, simply because they weren't ready to take that on in the middle school. So yes, there is an opportunity to do that. We do not allow students to double up in math in 9th grade, simply because their schedule is really packed. But if your child is interested in kind of reaching those highest levels of math, but they weren't accelerated this year, you can have that conversation with your 8th grade counselor. The course, they will be choosing one math course for 9th grade, but then when they get here, talk to your counselor about how you can get to those highest levels of math. And we will be looking at those scheduling choices starting in 10th grade. Christy, can you answer when 8th graders are going to work on their schedules?
Yes, I believe it's later this week and into next week.
Okay. If the students at the high school are going hybrid, how many days a week is the hybrid system? Unfortunately, I can't answer that. What I can tell you is that our current reopening plan has 4 phases. Phase 1 is totally closed, meaning all remote, no students are attending in person. Phase 2 is what we've been in since the start of the school year, which is 1 day a week. Phase 3 is what we've started this week, which is 2 days a week. And then phase 4 is when we fully reopen 5 days a week, and we're back to our traditional model of every student every day. So I think that really we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But my suspicion is that if we are still in a hybrid system, most likely we would still be in some kind of a phasing process that we could shift left or right depending on what the conditions in the community are. Christy, I don't know if you have the answer to the question about regents for students that are accelerated in 8th grade taking this year, if there is regents in June, which right now we are planning to have regents exams, and if they get canceled, you will get information about that.
So typically the regents exams that 8th grade students who are accelerated would be taking would be algebra and earth science. If your student is on a different path, I will refer you back to the middle school counselors to answer the question individually, but it's typically those 2 subjects.
In a typical year, we do have lockers that we assign to students, although at the high school level, students typically don't use them very often. Some of you who've been in the building, it is a sprawling building. It does take quite a while if you are at the far end of the social studies wing to get to the basement of the art classroom. So a stop at the locker really is not conducive to making it there on time. Most students, even in a typical year, do carry their backpacks with them, and they use their locker perhaps in the dead of winter if they have a bulky coat to kind of store something in there. So in our current model, we are not using lockers because we don't want to kind of stop students from getting to their classes on time. We don't want to have students gathering. Normally that locker time is a great time to have a few minutes to kind of chat with a friend, or you're chatting in the hallway. But we can't do that with social distancing right now. So this year is a little different. We aren't using those lockers, but assuming we get back to fully in person, we will go back to assigning lockers. Question about New York State ELA and math tests. I can't answer that. That would be a question for our middle school team. We don't do state tests at the high school level at every grade level in ELA and math. Instead, we have the Regents exams, which are specific to an exit test based on the course that a student is enrolled in. Questions about working with the students to do the schedules. I'm not sure what the priority is or if they even have an order at the middle school. What I can tell you is that there is no priority in terms of students that go first get their first choices. All of this scheduling happens simultaneously for all students. So please don't be panicked if your student isn't first in the list to meet with your middle school counselor. All of those sheets come together over here to the high school. We then make projections about the number of sections we will need in different courses based on the requests that people make. As Mrs. Smith mentioned, there is an opportunity as the year goes on and you get towards the end of the school year. If you are thinking that the choice that you're making this month maybe is either too challenging or not challenging enough, please contact your counselor as soon as possible, because it is very difficult if numbers significantly change that change sections. We then have to determine which teachers are teaching those sections. Thank you, Ms. Williams. She put in the chat, Mr. Earlis and Ms. Williams will be doing the scheduling via Zoom during a core class. And the information is posted in the Counseling and Guidance Google Classroom for the middle school. Hybrid and remote will be done at the same time, so no need to worry about that. Any other questions? I know sometimes we invite people to unmute, but then it gets hard to tell who's speaking when. If you have any other questions, we will stay on, and feel free to type them in the chat. Again, this is just setting the stage for the success that we know each of our students will have as they move forward. If you have questions, concerns specific to your student, feel free to reach out to any of us, your counselor at school, the counselor here at the high school. Reach out to me. My email address is published pretty much anywhere on the website that you can. And I believe the school messenger that I sent out to invite you here, that has my return email address. Feel free to email me. And if I don't reply, please email me again. Oftentimes, if I read the content, I might try to forward it to the individual that can best address your concerns. I will also say that we appreciate you being on the live call with us tonight. If you know of other parents that weren't able to make it, I did send out the link to the YouTube video, which will be available if they weren't able to watch tonight, or if as a parent you watched it and you want your student to watch this. It is available and will continue to be available on the YouTube Vestal Central School District YouTube channel. I did email that to all of the students in grade 8, all of the parents, I'm sorry, in grade 8 through School Messenger. Also on that YouTube channel, if there are parents that are thinking about that 4-year plan and perhaps you weren't able to attend the program around the IB diploma and those advanced pathways for advanced diploma types, that is also at the YouTube channel as well. And that happened last night. So feel free to view those as well and send us any questions or concerns. So we wish you all to stay healthy, be well, continue to try to find ways to connect with your school, connect with each other, and we hope we can be together soon and have students running around our building doing that scavenger hunt as soon as possible. Thank you to everyone, and we will stay on, the administrative team, and Christy will stay on for a little bit longer if there's any other chats that come up that people want to do. So thank you and have a great night.
Hi, I'm a parent of an 8th grader. I have a question. Yesterday, I attended the IB program as well. I noticed that there are quite a few courses. They could be, AP courses and IP. for IP programs. So if the students attend this one course, are they going to take both exams, or how does that work?
Students can decide which exam that they take. Some students will take both the IB and the AP exam. We do encourage them to follow through with at least one exam, as it is the culminating exam in many of the courses. But they could choose one or both, and the classes will prepare them to take both exams.
Oh, okay. Thank you.